right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis, another NFL edition of Unqualified Analysis. Back on this new schedule. I am your host, Caleb. You can follow me on the socials, specifically just Twitter, at CalebVUA. That is down in the description. Okay, outside of that, hey, Week 10 in the NFL, we had some stuff happen here and there, and I forget much of it already. I'll tell you what, Sunday was just a blur of gluttony and utter just tiredness. But scrolling through this thing, we had a couple standouts. Obviously, Monday night still to come. Also, hand up, my bad. My bad. Forgot about doing Monday Night Football last Thursday. Won't happen in this coming Thursday. I assure you of that. But yeah, we'll go down this thing chronologically. We had a couple bangers on the previous week's slate, I guess you could say. But yeah, we're just gonna go down this thing chronologically, and then we'll see what we learn along the way. One thing before we get into it, though, a real, and I mean genuine moment of silence for Ben, Kirk Herbstreit's dog. Obviously, he passed away last week. The entire college football world watched that tearjerker of a tribute, and man, I'll tell you what, just sad moment, but a beautiful photo that came out of that of Lee Corso. Everyone knows, if you followed College Game Day and all of this, how much that Kirk Herbstreit has looked after Lee Corso over the last couple of years. And with Kirk Herbstreit breaking down and unable to speak on live television, Lee Corso reaches over, puts a hand on him. That's a photo that'll last forever. That's that's beautiful. That chokes me up a little bit right now just thinking about it. But yeah, big rest in peace to Ben, everyone's favorite dog. No matter how you felt about him being down on the sidelines, does not matter. Ben was a good dog, man. He was a great dog, and he will be sorely missed. And rest in peace, Ben. Outside of that, though, let's get into the football. Enough of the emotional, sappy shit. Okay, so going down this thing chronologically, I'm gonna get another, pretty generous gulp or five of this caffeinated beverage here, real quick. Wasn't counting. Roughly 5, though, I would imagine. Oh, excuse me. Your boy's been working a lot. This is the latest day I've had in quite some time. Any hoozles, let's get into the Week 10 slate here. So going off to last Thursday, Bengals go on the road to the Ravens. And I'll tell you what, played an absolute banger of a football game. Both of these quarterbacks kind of just went out of their minds in this one. The final score, Ravens do get the win, 35-34. That was, a crazy fourth quarter, 21-13. The Ravens outscored the Bengals in the fourth quarter. The under was looking more than viable, almost assured entering the fourth quarter. If you bet the under on this one, I apologize, because they just obliterated that thing in the fourth quarter. 34 combined points between the teams in the fourth quarter. It was back and forth the whole damn game. Jamar Chase just went silly in this game. 11 receptions, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns. Something about the Ravens. Every time he plays against the Ravens, he just goes off. Going to set myself a reminder the next time these teams play, just blindly take an alternate over on the Jamar Chase yards prop, and just don't even worry about it, because that thing's probably hitting. He just goes insane every time he plays the Ravens, and this was the best one that he's had. I'll tell you a story. Joe Burrow, by the way, prefacing this story I'm about to tell you, Joe Burrow was the one passing in the ball and benefited greatly from that. He had 428 yards and 4 touchdowns. Also, tying into this story, I'll just pull up the full box score at this point, might as well. So tying this whole thing together, Mark Andrews for the Ravens, also 6 receptions, 68 yards and a touchdown. Tylan Wallace, by the way, 84-yard touchdown in this one, 3 receptions for 115 yards. That'll boost your yards per reception number, I'll tell you that right now. But those 3 players, Mark Andrews, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow, they were all on one fantasy team this past week. And I got to check, because at this point, you got to assume that the final totals are in. Now, give me just 1 second. Because it's probably changed. I think the dude had a defense that was on bye. But let me just, oh goodness gracious. Okay. So we're going to keep it going from there. Yeah, so on Thursday night alone, this guy had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Mark Andrews. I believe that scored him 107 points. The projected total at the end of the week for this man's opponent in fantasy football is 96. So outscored him with 3 players in one night. That's just a bad week at the office, man. You were probably losing anyways in this league with a 96-point projected point total, and that's assuming that everything goes as planned on Monday night, which is never a guarantee. Boy, that's a tough week at the office in the fantasy football league. Worst team in the league that old buddy's playing against, though. Best team versus worst team, and it went exactly how you would expect it to. Beyond the point, though, either way, Lamar Jackson is... I mean, there's no clearer front runner for MVP right now than Lamar Jackson. There's no one really even particularly close to him at the moment. He had another 4 touchdowns in this one, all through the air, no turnovers once again. Dude was sensational in this one, 8.8 yards per attempt. Didn't have a perfect passer rating, but 141.4. He leads the league in passer rating right now. I think it's like 128 at the moment. He's putting up Madden numbers. It's insane. He's running away with the MVP, and if they keep winning, he's going to continue to run away with the MVP. That would be 3 MVPs in, I believe, a 6-year career. Just insane stuff that we'd never seen before. He's playing at the level of the best quarterback in the league right now. He is playing the best of any quarterback in the league right now, and I hesitate to say that he is the best quarterback in the league because there is a man by the name of Patrick Mahomes who is lurking out there down in Kansas City, Missouri, just over the state line. Confusing that it's named Kansas City and it's in Missouri. We're already past that at this point. It's across the Mississippi River, I do believe, unless I'm just blowing shit right out of my ass right now. Sorry for the vivid metaphor there, but besides the point, either way, Lamar Jackson is playing better than any QB in the league right now. And, man, if he does this in the playoffs, maybe he is the best quarterback in the league right now. He's going to have to do a lot to prove that to me, and he's going to have to sustain it for a long time. That's just speaking to how good Patrick Mahomes has been for his entire career. But, man, the way Lamar Jackson is playing football right now, it's unstoppable. And the only thing that's going to stop this Ravens football team is the defense, because I will remind you, Joe Burrow went wild on him, and Jamar Chase is a man amongst boys. And Chase Brown had a hell of a game. My fantasy team does thank Chase Brown. 9 receptions, 52 yards, but that was their second leading receiver. So credit to them for, by and large, just kind of stoning the wide receiver core. I think it's more of a statement to the depth behind T. Higgins. He was out for this game than it does to the Ravens defense. But hey, credit where credit is due. That being said, the one guy that you really had to scheme around was just running wild through your secondary the entire night. And that's just an untenable situation. That's something they got to get figured out. And frankly, I don't know if they have the personnel to get it figured out. They also lost Kyle Hamilton in this one, went out early. I don't necessarily know what the injury was necessarily. It doesn't seem like a long-term thing, but he was out early in this game, and I don't necessarily expect him to be in next week. And defense already wasn't playing well with him in the lineup. Certainly not going to help not having him in there, and it did not help down the stretch in this one. They came damn close to losing this game. If the refs just didn't go selectively blind for the final play on the 2-point conversion, who knows what happens? They get the ball at the 1-yard line after, you can pick a number of penalties that the refs missed on that 2-point conversion at the end of the game. We might be having a different discussion here today. We might be having more of a discussion about the Bengals and how far they can go. But ultimately, they're plagued by the same problems to varying degrees. The Ravens' defense is slightly better than the Bengals, but still, same story for both of these teams. I'm worried about them when they face off against the Bills again. Now, I think home field advantage has a whole lot to do on how that game is going to go, but ultimately, we saw the Ravens run the Bills out of the building last time around. The next time they're going to face them at the very earliest is the playoffs, if they even face them at all. We'll see what happens down the stretch here. But when they face them in the playoffs, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be incumbent on Lamar Jackson to make some plays that he didn't in the last postseason. I think he might be capable of doing it this time. He was capable last year. I think he's going to be willing to do it this time around. We'll see. We'll see. The Ravens are a far from infallible team, and by the way, there is still an undefeated team at the top of the conference that is the two-time reigning Super Bowl champion. So maybe we can pump the brakes on the Baltimore Ravens, but this offense is sensational. They are right up there with the Lions for best offense in the league right now. It's those two and then a crowd below them at the moment. There's no one else that's really on their level at this moment. Bengals 4-6. I mean, let's take a peek at the schedule. Might as well. I mean, couldn't hurt. They're at the Chargers next week. Then they got the Steelers, Cowboys, Titans, Browns, Broncos, then Steelers again to end things off. I don't know. It's a difficult stretch here. I feel like going on the road to the Chargers next week, that's going to be an issue for him. I feel pretty strongly that that's going to be an issue for him, especially that defense. I don't know how they're going to stop the Chargers' running game, and you got a quarterback in Justin Herbert that just does not turn the ball over. He is allergic to turning the ball over. Solid Chargers defense, that feels like it's going to be a loss. Steelers, now you get him at home, but it's pretty much impossible for them to win at home right now. So I don't know how much of an advantage that is at the moment. That feels like it might be a loss. Cowboys, I'll give you that. They stink this year. Titans, same. Browns, give them that. Broncos, kind of a toss-up, but I'll give them that. Then you're at the Steelers. I mean, I'm counting probably 3 more losses. Maybe you steal one versus the Steelers in that matchup, and you're at 9-8. I don't know. I don't feel great about where the Bengals sit right now. And even if they do get to the playoffs, they're a flawed team. Now when you got a guy like Joe Burrow, you always got a puncher's chance. But right now, just a flawed team. We'll see if the defense can get hot at some point. They have the defensive coordinator where they could possibly do it. But right now, I don't see much of a future for the Bengals as a contender. At least not this season. We'll see what happens from here on out. But they'd have to buck some organizational trends that have held for several decades. So to say I'm skeptical would be adequate of a description there. So moving on to the Sunday games, we took sweet revenge on the Germans for World War II. We sent over the Giants and the Panthers, and not only did we send them over, we made them watch extra football of the Giants and Panthers. I hope they enjoyed it. I really hope they do. And now they just believe that the best that they can get at quarterback right now is Daniel Jones and Bryce Young. I think they had Patrick Mahomes in town last year, so I don't think he necessarily had a great game, but at the very least they know what a better quarterback looks like. But man, I don't know why we hate our foreign audience so much. I know why. It's not hatred, it's just, look, man, we're sending 2 teams over there that are not going to have sellouts at their own home stadiums. We send them to a place where they are going to have a sellout. That makes the average revenue go up, which makes everyone else's, all of the owners' revenue go up at the same time. So I get it. That's why we send the bad teams over there. The good teams are still filling up stadiums. So there's no need to send them over there into the guaranteed sellout games. The worst teams, though, the Jaguars of the world, frequent flyers over there, overseas, they have got a lay of the land in Europe, I'll tell you what. A little bit of a different situation on that front. But yeah, Panthers, they're on a winning streak, man. 2 straight games. They have won here. Bryce Young, I mean, he still doesn't look good, but at the very least, he's got a competent run game now. Chuba Hubbard is really cooking at the moment. 153 yards in this game, 5.5 yards a carry, touchdown to boot. Now, Bryce Young, he's not throwing for spectacular numbers here. I mean, it's, 15 of 25, 126, 5 yards an attempt, but 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Didn't turn the ball over at all in this game. You'll live with that. That's an improvement over what it was. I mean, we were talking like all-time terrible numbers whenever he was initially starting. We're talking like 3-4 yards per attempt, like what Bo Nix was doing at the very beginning of the year, where he was throwing for negative yards and a half. That's what Bryce Young was doing. Now he is doing a little bit better. So hey, might as well ride him, see where it goes from here. Now, he was straight up not terrible. Not terrible at all. He was not good. Don't get me wrong. He was not good. Not terrible, though. Not terrible. Daniel Jones, on the other hand, was not good at all. 2 interceptions in this game. No touchdowns. Didn't fumble the ball, so give him credit there, but that's a loose bit of credit that it is. I don't know why they paid Daniel Jones, man. They fooled themselves after one season playing against a really weak schedule and him having the lowest air yards per attempt in the entire league. They fooled themselves into paying him instead of paying Saquon Barkley. You done fucked up. You done fucked up, Joe Shane. That's all I got to say about that. You already know that. I mean, the Giants are 2-8 at this point. They're firmly in the Shedeur Sanders sweepstakes, I believe, and fully understand that Deion Sanders would try to sabotage that as much as possible. But, I mean, it's looking like at this point Shedeur is probably the number 1 overall pick. Carson Beck stinks. I don't know if there's anyone else. I mean, maybe Cam Ward makes a late run. He's an older prospect, though, which has, tended to be a ding against you unless you are just one of those spectacular athletes like Jaden Daniels, which is just not what Cam Ward's athletic profile is. So, yeah, I mean, that's what the Giants are looking forward to right now. The season is over. They probably should have sold more assets at the trade deadline. They didn't really do much. Yeah, at this point, you just hope Daniel Jones doesn't get hurt so the injury guarantees don't kick in. And then you just cut bait and move on with your life, because that's where the Giants are at. That the final stink of Dave Gettleman will have, well, not totally left the organization. There's still some players left behind from the Gettleman regime. But, the biggest mistake of the Gettleman regime will no longer be emanating stink upon your organization. That's a positive. That's a real positive. So there is that. I've already spent entirely too much time on a Giants-Panthers game, though, so we're just going to move on. We're just going to move on from there. Hey, Panthers, might be playing yourself out of a draft pick, but good on you. Good on you. Maybe build some culture up a little bit over there. Oh, the Bears stink. Oh, I'm happy to admit I was wrong. The Patriots go on the road and they beat the Bears 19-13. This wasn't just a beating. This was utter domination from start to finish. It was beautiful. It was actually terrible. Don't actually quote me on that. It was just an awful football game. I don't know what the over-under was. They smashed the under, 21 total points. Just a bad brand of football. I mean, you had a fun little shot on the sideline of Caleb Williams sitting there, watching the iPad with Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron having a little and Caleb Williams just sitting there frowning, shaking his head. It is so over for Matt Eberflus and that entire coaching staff that it is hard to fathom. And they play the Packers next week. Buddy, if Matt Eberflus makes it if Matt Eberflus makes it to Thanksgiving, I will be shocked. I mean, utterly floored. Now, the only thing that's going to save him is that they have an old guard, or save him rather, is that they have an old guard owner. In Virginia McCaskey. She's not really the one running the show, but it's still like one of the founding father owner lineages still there. So kind of like the Browns, they run things a little bit more like a mom and pop shop. Usually don't let people go during the season because mom and pop shop's gotta, cut costs wherever they can. That's the best way to put it. But I would still, even with that philosophy, I would be floored if he makes it to Thanksgiving, because the Bears stink, and with the talent that they have on the roster, they shouldn't. I think you can make an argument that you didn't address the offensive line strongly enough. If you're not Brian Poles, Ryan Poles, his name's not Brian. Maybe that's an area you could have looked at. But ultimately, from Ryan Pohl's perspective, you expect a better coaching job with what you've brought in there. You brought in a couple first-round picks. You brought in some free agency pickups. You materially improved the offensive line from what it was when you got there, and it's playing just as badly as before he was there. There's no excuse for it. A lot of that falls on the coaching staff. The Bears are done. They're 4-5 now. They're entering the meat of their schedule. This is a game that they had to win to stay above 500, but to really just continue to have a chance at the playoffs. Now, I mean, we can look at the stretch run here real quick for them. They're playing the entirety of the NFC North pretty much. They have not played a single divisional game, and they are in the toughest division in all of football. So they play the Packers next week, the Vikings the following week. They play the Lions on Thanksgiving. Then you get a little breather from the NFC North. Why don't you go on the road and you play the 49ers? So that's a nice little breather to start off December. Nice coming fresh off a little mini bye, playing on that Thanksgiving Day. And then you're right back into the NFC North. You're on the road at the Vikings. You play the Lions. You play the Seahawks. And then you are at the Packers. I see maybe 1 or 2 wins left there for the Bears, the way they're currently playing. And maybe you get a little bit of an interim bump here if you do decide to fire Matt Eberflus. Hair still looking fantastic, by the way. Shout out to his barber. I have it on good authority. His name is Funk. I don't really know his other name. His last name is Funk, I do believe, and he funks people's hair up, man. And he's done it for Matt Eberflus, and it looks great. It looks great. All the credit in the world to him. That being said, as far as thinking realistically about the schedule, though, for the Bears, I don't really see a path to being above 500 at this point, which is fairly disappointing. As a neutral observer, the Bears, with what they had, the receivers that they had coming in, the defense that they had returning, all you needed was average offensive line play and some sort of creativity in the offensive playbook, and you were good as gold. You were going to probably be a playoff team, and the offense just completely shit the bed, man. No other way to put it. The offense completely shit down their leg. The offensive line is atrocious. The play calling is still terrible. I am so disappointed in what Shane Waldron has put on the film there. I was hoping that maybe he learned a little bit from where he fell short in Seattle. Did not seem to be the case this year. And yeah, it's just not going to work for this Bears coaching staff. It's over. It's absolutely over. And we thought that this would be the best situation for a number 1 overall pick of all time. Turns out it's just the same position as every other number 1 overall pick that's ever been there. It's just all bad. Just all bad, and I hope for Caleb Williams' sake that he gets someone in there that knows what the hell they're doing. Hey, maybe you coax Ben Johnson in there. Ben Johnson seems a little bit too picky to take that job, but hey, might as well put out some feelers. That's tough. I hope for the best for Caleb Williams. That's all I can really say. Just hope for the best. And hey, if things don't work out in Chicago over the next couple of years, maybe J.J. McCarthy doesn't really work out great for us. Hey, we always loved you in the draft process, Caleb. We'll make you a star. No worries about it. I'm thinking way too far in the future, though. So, Bears bad. Patriots, hey, 3 wins, baby. 3 wins. Now, it may be the only wins you get all season, but hey, 3 wins, man. You could have fooled me to thinking that was not what they were going to get earlier on in the season, but hey, maybe they're rounding into shape. Maybe they're just rounding a little bit into shape here. Okay, so Bills go on the road to the Colts. Not pretty, but they get the win. They improve to 8-2, 30-20 over the Colts. Despite another poor performance from Joe Flacco in this one. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, some hilarious interceptions at that. Despite that, still sticking with him going forward. I don't know what the Colts are doing with Anthony Richardson right now. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Your quarterback just committed 4 turnovers. By the way, he lost a fumble as well. So even in a game where you force a bunch of turnovers, you get 2 interceptions off of Josh Allen in this game. Even when that is the case, your quarterback shoots you in the foot. even though you have a 114-yard rusher, breaks off a 58-yard touchdown. Shout out to Jonathan Taylor in this one. It's just not enough. Whew, I don't know where the Colts go from here. They are not a very good football team right now, though. And it looks like the dice are not rolling in their favor. That's the best way to put it. As far as the Bills are concerned, though, 8-2. Setting up a big-time matchup with the Chiefs next week. That is going to be an absolute dandy, and I cannot wait for it. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome. That's going to give me the fuel to get through this week, to get to the weekend so we can get to that game. That's a treat, folks. That's a tasty little morsel, as I like to say. But yeah, 8-2 at this point. Still feels like Amari Cooper is trying to find his way. I think he was out in this game, actually, or he just had no impact whatsoever. He didn't even seem to get a target, so I'm assuming he was out in this game. But yeah, I mean, once he gets worked into the fold here a little bit more, and I do think he will get worked into the fold here at some point, and he's going to kind of improve what they already have. I don't know why this window is up here. I apologize, just messing with my computer here. But once Amari Cooper kind of gets worked into the fold a little bit more, and he can start providing more of a big play presence and, complement Khalil Shakir and vice versa. I mean, this Bills team, who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it, man? I thought they were going to at least take a little bit of a step back from what they lost last year. But hey, man, they lost a bunch of names, not a whole lot of production. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, the Bills, Brandon Beane seems like, hey, shout out to you. Keon Coleman out for this one. But seems like you just nailed it on everything that you needed to nail. So all the credit in the world to them. Bills are a well-run organization, man. And, it's just the same question we're going to keep asking week after week. They're going to get a chance to kind of prove themselves a little bit, get a little bit of the lingering doubt off their back this next week versus Kansas City. But it all comes down to the playoffs, man. You got the quarterback, you got the defense, you got the offense and the structure around the quarterback. There's no reason not to make a deep run. Except there's one big one, and you're facing off against them next week. So, hey, right now, the only question is, can they beat Kansas City in the playoffs? Until we get an answer to that question, they can do whatever they want in the regular season. They can win every single game left on their schedule, including the one against Kansas City. We're still going to have that one concern out there. And until they get that monkey off their back, we're just going to have that concern. Nothing we can do about it except for keep it there until proven otherwise, folks. But I'm going to get another quick 15 or so gulps of this. We'll see. See if I can kill this. There's a lot left, but we'll see. Nope. Sorry, I built up a pretty good air bubble there with the chug sesh. It's too much pressure building. Too much pressure. I've never been a chugger. Never once, well, unfortunately. Well, a couple times, but never been proficient at it. Besides the point. Either way, we'll keep moving from here. The Chiefs, once again, they just pulled another one straight out their keister, man. Smell on it and all, still. The Broncos had a chance to win this one, 17-16. Had, a fairly chip shot field goal at the end of this. But they line up, and the Chiefs, as they do, just find a way to win. Block the field goal attempt, get the win, 16-14. Not pretty at all, not one bit. It is still bad Chiefs offense, but the Chiefs defense pulls through once again. Bo Nix actually had himself a pretty good game in this one, but all of his best stats came in the first half was the main issue, and the Chiefs just kept on moving. And Patrick Mahomes still doesn't look good, but he's not looking good in a way that still wins you games. Not just doesn't hurt you, not just doesn't lose you games, but wins you games. He's getting, he's getting the right, what's the word I'm looking for? He's getting the drives when you need them. That's what I'm looking for. He's getting clutch plays still. He's doing just enough to win you games. And even in a game where you rush for 3 yards a carry, you only get 57 yards on the ground. Patrick Mahomes is throwing for less than 7 yards per attempt. Still, even in the face of all that, you don't turn the ball over one time in this game. Neither team turned the ball over, actually. It was a clean football game. But you just play field position, you play behind your defense, and when you need a drive late, you have the best quarterback in the entire damn world on your side, and you have right now the best kicker in the NFL in Harrison Butker. So they have the makeup of a team, even without the offense right now. The more I think about it, like I just laid out, when you have that defense and you have the best quarterback in the whole land, you got the best kicker in the league right now. Those are the three things that you need. And when it's all said and done, if you got nothing else and you got those three things, you're still a championship contender. And not only that, they're 9-0. They're back-to-back Super Bowl champions. I believe they have the lowest point differential of any 9-0 team of all time. But do they feel any less inevitable? I mean, I could remember one of the later career years of Ben Roethlisberger, one of the last like really good years that he had. I think the Steelers started a season like 9, 10, 11-0, something like that. This Chiefs team feels better than that team way back when. Even with, I would assume that team has a better point differential than the Kansas City Chiefs, because all the teams that started 9-0 have a better point differential than the Kansas City Chiefs right now. But the Chiefs feel more inevitable than many of those teams that started 9-0 in past seasons. It's just, as long as this defense is good and they have those other two pieces in place in the quarterback and the kicker, they're the Super Bowl favorites still. At the very least, out of the AFC, they're still the AFC favorites. Now, the Detroit Lions are going to have something to say about it if they meet in the Super Bowl. I'll tell you that right now. But with this defense against Jared Goff, I still kind of lean the Chiefs. They just feel inevitable. I'm sorry, folks. They just feel inevitable. Until they give us something else to talk about, they just feel like they are going to be there at the end. At the very least, AFC Championship, and we'll see what happens beyond that. Denver Broncos, though, 5-5. Bo Nix starting to play some really solid football on a week-in, week-out basis. Downright efficient in this one. Didn't throw an interception. Didn't turn the ball over one time. You wish that your leading rusher was an Audric Estime at 3.8 yards per carry, but you just can't control everything out there, right? Marvin Mims, 3 rushing attempts, by the way. 14 yards for the long, so there is that. But hey, that is the second leader in rushing attempts on the team is Marvin Mims. Not a fantastic recipe for success. The Broncos, as an offense, they have a lot of work to do, and they're slowly rounding into shape with what Sean Payton wants to do, with how Bo Nix is playing. Seems to get better every week, and that's kind of what you want to see from a rookie quarterback. He was terrible to start the year. He's downright serviceable right now, and I think with the coach that they have in place, coaching the quarterback, I think you feel pretty good about where you're at as the Broncos. They're not built to really win this year. Probably need a little bit more pass rush. Probably need to bolster that offensive line, receivers, the whole works. They're a flawed football team, but to be 5-5 with what they've got on the roster and with a rookie quarterback, you got to be really encouraged if you're a Denver Broncos fan for the future of the team. It seems like at the very least you can kind of put to bed at least some of the concerns about Sean Payton and this regime. Now, the jury's still out on George Payton. I'm still not really sure why he's there after he perpetrated that Russell Wilson trade. That was, I mean, if Deshaun Watson hadn't happened in the exact same offseason, I would say it's the worst trade of all time, but trumped by another contract and another trade in the same offseason. There's not much you can do about that, I guess. One of the worst of all time, though, and he's still the GM. Doesn't make a lick of sense to me. But, hey, as far as what's in place, coaching staff-wise, quarterback with that coaching staff, the defense, you got one of the best corners in the entire league, and Pat Surtain, could be in a whole lot worse situation. You could be the Panthers, you could be the Titans, you could be a whole host of really bad teams, and the Broncos aren't that. They're a solidly Mendoza-line, middle-of-the-road team, and that's a good starting spot for right now. That's a good place to be for right this second. Okay, so I shouldn't have bet on this game, probably a big reason why I was 3-4 this week. Falcons went on the road to the Saints. I should have just stayed the hell away from the interim coach bump. This was rife for an interim coach bump too, because it felt like Dennis Allen had lost the locker room. Darren Rizzi's a big time morale guy. I should have known that this was coming. And to place my hard-earned money on the fucking Atlanta Falcons, how stupid are you, Caleb? How stupid are you? Either way, not only do the Saints cover, they win 20-17. Third win of the year. They snap a 7-game losing streak. Hey, man, if they win out, they're still in the playoff hunt. I'll tell you what, they're not going to do that. But, hey, credit to them for getting the win. Kirk Cousins, I am told through credible sources, had a Kirk Cousins moment at the end of this game where he, on live television, on 4th in the game, 4th and 5, I believe, if you want to be exact about it, he throws a swing pass to Bijan Robinson behind the line of scrimmage, and he gets tackled behind the line of scrimmage, and the game is over. And that's just, there are times that I am glad that Kirk Cousins is not my QB anymore, and that's one of them. Sometimes you just are who you are, man. And I hate to say that he's been this less. He has pushed the ball down the field more in clutch situations. But all too many times, if you leave him to the default setting is check it down on 4th and 5. Or 4th and 7 if he's with the Minnesota Vikings and the game is on the line in the playoffs. It is what it is. It is what it is, man. Hey, shout out to the Saints for getting your 3rd win. Just for funsies, let's look at their schedule down the stretch. So, got the Browns. Chalk that one up to a win. Got the Rams. That's probably a loss. Giants, give them a win there. Commanders loss. Packers loss. Raiders, give them a win. Buccaneers, I'll probably give them a loss. So they're probably not going to make the playoffs unless they just get ungodly and insanely hot. But, hey, credit to you for your 3rd win. Maybe playing yourself out of a draft pick, but might be good for the culture. So I fully endorse anything that happens from here on out for the Saints. Barring injury, of course. I don't condone injuries, of course. You don't get injured. I'm not backing you if you get injured, okay? Okay, so the Buccaneers go on the road to the 49ers go on the road to the Buccaneers, and they eke one out, man. It was close to the very end, but hey, I got to look at the stat line. I got to look at the stat line here real quick. Got to make sure. Got to make sure. Am I looking at the right? Okay. I'll back off of that one, I guess. But yeah, hey, close week. I'll tell you what. I will tell you what on that one. 49ers do get the win, 23-20. Christian McCaffrey does come back. Ultimately, not very efficient on the ground. That'll happen when you're running into the teeth of Vita Vea. Is what it is there, especially with a lackluster interior offensive line. But a lot to like. Otherwise. I mean, 6 receptions, 68 yards. Still had over 100 yards from scrimmage. Did not get the touchdown. Anyone who bet the minus 200 or whatever it was on your respective sports book on the anytime touchdown just kind of included that in whatever parlays you were using. Fool. How foolish of you to think that you could do this and get away with it. Now, if those odds were like minus 105, would I have bet on that? Yes. But that's just a rational thing to do as a bettor at that point. So I'm still in the right. Yeah, brutal if you were in that camp. Everyone else, though, hey, 49ers just get a win. They're 5-4. Still very much in the mix of things in the division, in the NFC West. Brock Purdy was slinging the pill out there. I think we can kind of say that he's just a legitimately solid quarterback at this point. He's just really good. I mean, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Ricky Pearsall got his first career receiving touchdown in this game. Shout out to him. He was the second leading receiver. Jawan Jennings seems to consistently step up when you need him to. Now, it was kind of a tight bunch of receivers. Only four different receiving options caught a pass. Sorry, only 5 different players caught a pass in this game. So the lowest reception total of someone who caught a pass was 3. But hey, if they're all doing well, I mean, shit, might as well, right? Crazy that there's not a single target for Jacob Cowing or anyone. Like, basically, there's not even like a target share for someone who just didn't get a reception. Basically, it's just the core 5. He targeted 5 guys the entire game, but I'll be damned if it didn't work. And it worked well on the other end too, with the exception of one, crazy hand in the face of Nick Bosa and thrown out of a sack for a first down play by Baker Mayfield. Not really a good game. He didn't shoot him in the foot is the main thing. Didn't turn the ball over. He fumbled 3 times, but didn't turn the ball over on any of those fumbles at the end of the day. But still, as far as the stat line, 18 for 29, 116, 4 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown. Again, didn't turn the ball over, but just the 1 touchdown. Bucky Irving might be taking over the backfield. That's another story. He went 5.6 yards per carry, had a touchdown on the ground, also got another 3 receptions. He's looking like he might be taking over, but also Rachaad White is factoring heavily. I love what the Buccaneers have as far as the backfield is concerned. The problem is your leading receiver was Rachaad White. And I believe the highest yardage total for a wide receiver, I believe that would be Ryan Miller, number 81, with 1 reception for 11 yards. Not going to win you a whole lot of football games. And that's just you just throw your hands up. It is what it is for the Buccaneers right now. That's what happens when your top 2 receivers, guys that were trending towards All-Pro, Pro Bowl territory, go down, one for the rest of the season, then one for extended period of time. It's a damn shame that they couldn't stay healthy, because I think this Buccaneers squad is actually pretty solid. But alas, they just don't have the horses to do it, and the 49ers took advantage. Let's, just for funsies, let's take a look at the stretch run for the 49ers here. So They play each of the teams in the division one more time. They got the Seahawks this coming week. Then they're at the Packers, at the Bills. They got the Bears, Rams, at the Dolphins, Lions, at Cardinals. So kind of a brutal stretch run with everything I just laid out there. They've still got the rest of the NFC North to go outside of the Vikings, who they've already lost to this year. Nothing's guaranteed for them, and they've still got their injury issues. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey coming back helps. If Christian McCaffrey is everything that he's been in past years, it's go time, and they are still going to be big time winners in down the stretch games here. There's no gimmies left on the schedule, though. There's really, what's the easiest game left on the schedule? You could pick out the Bears. The Bears are bad, but they still have good players, and especially if going into that one, maybe Matt Eberflus gets fired after Thanksgiving, and you got the interim head coach bump coming in. I don't love that dynamic. I don't know. It's kind of, I don't see a path for the San Francisco 49ers to have a hard or a high seed in the coming playoffs. Excuse me. They have a chance to get there for sure. I think it's probably essentially going to take, if you assume 10-7 gets you a playoff berth, that would be 3 losses, 5 wins down the stretch. So 5-3, could they do that? For sure. And then if they get in the playoffs, we'll see what happens from there. But I don't know, man. I think the Rams might end up running away with this division. Especially, you already know by now what happened on Monday night. I expect them to win on Monday night in this game. You book it now, old takes exposed later. But if they win, they're 5-4. They're also tied for the lead in the division with the Cardinals too, by the way. Sneaky 5-4 tie there, and the Seahawks not too far behind. Pretty competitive division there in the NFC West. I just feel like they're getting offensive linemen. They're getting healthier again, especially in that offensive line, which has been such a strength over the last season and change since that offensive line's really started coming on. I just think the Rams are going to end up running away with this division, man. I have a sneaking inclination that they're going to end up pulling this thing out. But 49ers, wild card spot, not the craziest idea in the world in my mind. Steelers go on the road to the Commanders, and I think it's time to just kind of say they're a legitimately solid football team. They get the win 28-27. Mike Williams, fresh off of hell the week before being with the Jets, he gets traded over to the Pittsburgh Steelers and ultimately gets the 32-yard touchdown to win the game, his only catch of the game, and decided to do it at the best possible time. Jaden Daniels didn't turn the ball over in this one, but he also didn't account for a single touchdown. And, I mean, I get it. Austin Eckler got you 2. Jeremy McNichols got you another one. So you rushed for 3 touchdowns, but you only ran for 2.7 yards per carry, passing at under 6 yards per attempt. The Steelers, they gave up 27 points, but I'll tell you what, they put up a hell of an effort in this one. And Russell Wilson, by God, it was not efficient, but I'll tell you what, 14 of 28, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, just workmanlike out there. Didn't fumble the ball at all. We'll take that 3-1, even if he did throw 50% completion percentage. George Pickens had himself a game, had some characteristic wild moments, but I'll tell you what, he's a fun player to watch. The Steelers are 7-2. They are all alone at the top of the AFC North with big matchups coming up this week, especially against the Ravens, but even more big matchups to come in the division. Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the entire league. Did anyone have any question that he's a top 5 coach, maybe even top 1 head coach in the entire league? Never had a losing season as a head coach. Doesn't look like he's going to have one this year either. Fantastic defense. Offense that seems to be rounding into shape. Not exactly efficient on the ground, but a lot of that is a little bit weighed down by Najee Harris just getting his knees sawed off, essentially, and Russell Wilson going 4 carries for 3 yards. Probably a lot more on the Najee 21 for 53 number, but I digress on that front. Offense does seem to be coming around a little bit. You're getting a few more big plays that you weren't getting with Justin Fields. And all you need from the offense is don't turn the ball over, get me a big play every now and again, and the Steelers are going to win a whole lot of games. They are a solid football team. They have a real good shot of finishing better than 9-8 right now. I'll tell you that right now. They have a real good shot of doing it. Until I see that double digits, I'm not going to believe it, but I'll tell you right now, they got a real good shot of doing it. And I'm looking forward to watching them going forward. We got to start talking about the Steelers as real dark horse AFC contenders at this point. I think they fit that description pretty well. But hey, when you got players like T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, we'll see what the long-term prognosis on Highsmith is. But hey, lo and behold, Preston Smith is now waiting in the wings after a trade last week. Hey, the Steelers' defensive line is the type that can kind of get hot at the right time, and Russell Wilson's the type of QB that maybe if he gets hot at the right time, we might be in business here. So, hey, interesting stuff going on in Pittsburgh right now near the Allegheny River. Stuff we should keep an eye on. As far as the Commies go, they're starting to be in a bit of a dogfight in that division. I don't really have much of a worry about them. This is kind of, Jaden Daniels is going to have to take these lumps from time to time. 50% completion percentage, no touchdowns in this one. The positive is that he did not throw an interception. I think that's a good starting spot. He's very early in his career. These things happen. When your second leading receiver is Noah Brown, I get it. Terry McLaurin is fantastic, but you need a little bit of support outside of that. They're going to need to continue to invest in the receiving core, but still, as it is right now, hey, you take this. You take this. You would want the win, but you'll take what you get at this point. So you get the loss. 27-28. You move on to next week. They're still 7-3, and I still think they have a great shot of winning this division, though. The Eagles are coming. They are playing some inspired football right now. So let's keep it moving from there. Vikings, yuck. gross. Grody, this game was disgusting to watch. Sam Darnold is allergic to throwing the ball to his own team. It should not be this difficult. Just throw it to the guys in the purple jersey and you'll be all right. He had 3 first-half interceptions. Just grody, disgusting, get it off my TV screen football. Alas, though, fortunately for us, get well soon, Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was not playing in this game with a shoulder injury. Instead, we got Mac Jones, and I am here to report Mac Jones is still, I can confirm, Mac Jones, and that's not good. That's not good. I feel like I'm certain I've watched extended periods of Mac Jones play football before. He's just a fucking asshole. And there's a difference between like a fiery leader type and just a fucking dickhead. Mac Jones is just a dickhead, man. Like, something about the way he comports himself, it makes me just want to give him a firm smack across the face, man. I mean, he just, the way he talks to other people is just disrespectful. It's whiny. It's just pouty. I hate everything about it. And also he's not very good at playing quarterback. He threw 2 interceptions in this game, lost a fumble. Yeah, Mac Jones is still Mac Jones. So there you go. There you go. A supremely unlikable player that is not very good at the quarterback position. Hey, Vikings didn't look pretty. Defense still played well, so you get the win 12-7. I do believe that Sam Darnold is tied for the league lead in turnovers right now. Not great. Not great. I'd love to reverse that trend back to what we were seeing in the beginning of the season. But I just hope we keep winning games. Sam Darnold seems like the type of guy that can get incredibly, insanely hot at the right time. And that's just all I'm hoping for at this point. I hope the dice rolls our way come playoff time and we can just kind of ride the momentum of top-level Sam Darnold. Whew. That is all to say our Super Bowl strategy is a lottery ticket. There's no better way I can describe it than that. It's just a lottery ticket. But 7-2, we're feeling good heading into the meat of divisional play here. We've already had a couple tough divisional games and won most of them. But hey, we're heading into the meat of this thing, so we'll see how it goes from here. We will see how it goes from here. I believe Aaron Jones had some sort of chest, rib injury, something like that in this one. He came back later, so I think the x-rays were negative. So if nothing else, it was just bruised cartilage or something like that. Either way, I'm worried about Minnesota, but I'm happy to be worried about them when they're 7-2 and not 2-7. So I'll take it. I'll take it. We're still... we keep falling down the rankings of teams in the league. I think we're top 10, though. We're still firmly top 10, I would say. I shy away from the top 5 talk now, but firmly top 10. And I'll stand on that for now, unless we follow this up with an even worse performance next week. But a win is a win. A win is a win. What are we doing on time right now? 53 minutes? Got to speed this thing up a little bit. Just a touch. Just a tad. Okay, so we got 4 games left. We'll just kind of breeze through them real quick. The Chargers do what Jim Harbaugh does. That is win against bad football teams and win in convincing fashion. They get the win 27-17. Not flashy numbers from Justin Herbert, but I think at this point, Herbert has been on so many bad teams for so long. I think he's okay with just playing some old school football and getting enough passing yards to win the game and never turning the ball over, because that is all that Justin Herbert does. He accounted for 2 touchdowns in this game, threw for 1, ran for 1, did not turn the ball over, goes 14 of 18 for 164 yards, 9.1 yards per attempt. And when you get 145 yards in the ground, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that you only throw the ball 18 times. And with Justin Herbert, when you call upon him to just go be that dude, he's done it before and he'll do it again. I love the makeup of this Chargers team right now, especially with Jesse Minter being everything I thought he would be and more. You got a guy, Deion Henley. All due respect to that man, I don't necessarily know who Deion Henley is. He had 14 tackles to lead the team, 11 of them solo, 1 sack. You're getting 2 sacks out of Bud Dupree at this stage in his career. Tuli Tuipulotu had 2 sacks as well. I mean, they had 7 sacks as a football team. You had Joey Bosa coming out of retirement essentially to go and get a sack in this game. Even I mean, they were this Chargers team. They're 6-3 right now. They are, I mean, looking like, I mean, they're a shoo-in for the play. They're not a shoo-in necessarily, but I mean, you look at this schedule down the stretch. Bengals, I think that's a win. Ravens, toss up in the Harbowl there on Christmas. Who the hell knows? Falcons, that's probably a win. Chiefs, that's still a toss up in my mind because Jim Harbaugh just gets up for those games and he's going to make a rock fight out of it. Take the under. I don't care what the number is. Just take the under on that. Buccaneers, that's a win. Broncos, I think that's a win. Patriots, Raiders, I think both wins, even though they're both on the road in back-to-back weeks to end off the season. They're very much in play here for a playoff spot, and I think they ultimately get one when it's all said and done. I like this Chargers team a lot, man. They're doing in year one the maximum of what you could expect them to do in year one. That is beat the hell out of the bad teams and just make the good teams play your style of football. And the Chargers do that week in, week out. Doesn't matter who the opponent is. They're going to play a slow-paced, physical football game, and they're not going to let anyone take them out of that. They're going to eliminate big plays on you, and they're just going to make you dink and dunk down the football field and, stop you somewhere along the way in all likelihood. They're just a rock-solid football team at all phases. And hey, credit to Jim Harbaugh, man. He is so much better as a head coach than I gave him credit for, and that's on me. That's on me. I don't know if I really realized up until these past 2 seasons just how good of a football coach Jim Harbaugh still was. So that is on me. Okay, Monday Night Football is starting up as I speak right now. I need to wrap this thing up. Eagles good, Cowboys bad. Eagles are 7-2. They beat the Cowboys 34-6. Everything is bad. The Sun took away a sure touchdown for the Cowboys. Would have been the only touchdown they scored in the game by CeeDee Lamb because the Sun was just boring a hole through CeeDee Lamb's retinas and he could not see the ball as it was coming in. Jerry Jones gets pissy with the reporters saying, we know where the Sun is. Stop asking me about the Sun. Why did you build a stadium like that then is a fair follow-up question. But Jerry is an 80-some-year-old child and he would brook no dissent at that point. So I'm sure people were afraid. Things are bad with the Cowboys. It just makes one of the most perplexing moves of all time that not only, also by the way, this came out later in the week, but Dak Prescott looks like he might be done for the season, probably getting season-ending surgery on his hamstring this week. So knowing that was a possibility, knowing that you were 3-5 at the time going into the trade deadline, still deciding not only to not sell, but to buy Jonathan Mingo, of all players, for a 4th-round pick as the price. I mean, one of the dumbest moves of the Jerry Jones tenure as the GM/owner. That just makes no sense. And you've put your franchise. You haven't set your franchise back necessarily yet. That's still yet to be determined. But you have set your franchise at a severe disadvantage by not selling at the trade deadline. You had players that you could have sold off and you chose not to do it. And I get it. You want to hang on to your stars. You want to hang on. Obviously, you're keeping Dak. You're probably keeping CD. Outside of that, I mean, maybe do you trade Micah Parsons? Do you trade DeMarcus Lawrence is the real question. I think he's probably the most marketable asset they had on the roster. Do you maybe trade Trayvon Diggs after what we've seen so far from him? You had assets that you could have moved to the trade deadline, and you chose not to do it. And that's going to haunt them. That's going to haunt them. It's going to make them. It's going to make what a Freudian slip there for a second. That's going to make it hard for them to rebuild and make a better football team this next season. Hey, good luck, Cowboys, because you're going to need it here going forward. The Eagles don't look now. They're playing inspired football. Their offense is really clicking right now. Saquon Barkley's a monster. Jalen Hurts threw 70% completion percentage in this one. I believe he got like 4 touchdowns, 2 through the air, 2 on the ground. He's sensational. Absolutely sensational. Nothing, no two ways about it. And then, yeah, outside of that, big matchups coming in the division. They have got the commies staring them right down the barrel. I think they might play them actually this coming week. But, hey, we got some dandies in the interdivisional play here. The what's the word actually? Just divisional play, not interdivisional. We're not swapping spit here between the divisions. We're purely keeping it in the family, if you will. Whatever. On that, we're gonna keep moving. Probably the easiest bet we cashed all weekend. The Cardinals just ran the Jets out of the building. I don't know why. I don't know in what world the Cardinals were only favored by like a point. This was a pick'em in Caesars when we took it, and even money -110, just a pick'em, easiest bet of all time. Probably second only to betting the Vikings in week 1. And that's how you know it was an easy bet, because I broke my own moral code and I bet on the Vikings because it was just screaming at me that much. The Cardinals were right up there with it. There's no world in which this Jets team should have been that close in an odds-making perspective to what the Cardinals are. The Jets stink. They're 3-7. The season is over. They are a terrible football team, and I don't need to waste any more breath on them. They're just not a very good football team. The Cardinals, on the other hand, at 6-4, I stand corrected, actually. I believe they have the division lead in the NFC West right now. Kyler Murray played out of his mind in this game. 22 of 24, 266 yards through the air. He was a menace on the ground in this one. I mean, the Jets didn't know what to do with him the entire time. Only ran 3 times, but 2 of those were for touchdowns. He was just unstoppable in this game. 3 total touchdowns, 11.1 yards per attempt, passing the ball. Did not turn the ball over in this game. Just sensational. No other way to put it. Only sacked 1 time. He just has a certain look with the ball coming out of his hand that is just unique. And if Kyler Murray can play like this consistently down the stretch, with the way that the Cardinals defense is kind of rounding into form a little bit more, hey, this Cardinals team, they are really making a run at the playoffs right now. And you're just wondering where the market is going to shake out on some of these teams. It feels like the Seahawks are probably prime candidates to fall out of the contention for the playoff spot. But I'm looking at 3 teams in the NFC North that are probably making the playoffs. And I'm looking at 3 teams in the NFC West that have a chance of making the playoffs. 1 or 2 of those teams is not going to make it. That's the main thing. Now, I think we can kind of safely rule out a four bid league here, a 4-bid division with the NFC North right now. The Bears just don't have the fuel left in the tank. It is what it is there. I think we can pretty safely write them off at this point as far as playoff contenders are concerned. So you're looking at one more wild card spot, and that's before you even factor in the fact that the NFC East, probably a 2-bid division as well. I'd say that's, man, there's only so many playoff spots right now is the damnedest thing. So if the NFC North, hey, the Vikings and Packers might be in a dogfight for a playoff spot down the road here, but I've gotten way off down on a tangent. It feels like 1 or more of those teams in the NFC West will not make the playoffs when it's all said and done. It's just a matter of, I feel pretty confident the Seahawks are probably going to fall off a little bit down the stretch here. The Cardinals, the 49ers, and the Rams. One of those 3 teams is going to fall off down the stretch, and it's a matter of who that team is going to be. The fascinating thing is I do not have a single read on that right now. I think the 49ers are getting healthier at the right time. I think the Cardinals are playing some great football. I think Rams are getting, maybe the most timely health possible, especially with Kupp and Nakua both back. You're getting offensive line help back. I don't know. I feel strongly, though, that one of those teams, at the very least, one of those teams is not going to make the playoff. And there might be two of those three teams not making the playoff. Who's going to shake out from that market? I have no idea, and that makes it so exciting. The NFC West might be the most exciting division to watch of all down the stretch. I feel pretty confident. It's a pretty bunched up division in the NFC North. The Lions are the best team. I have no illusions about that anymore. The Lions are the best team. I don't know who's the best team in the NFC West right now, and that is exciting. I think it's the Rams, but I have no idea. There's only so many playoff spots, and someone's going to be left out that deserves it. That's the exciting thing right now, and I'm excited to see what happens. I'm not excited to see that Miami is already up 7-0 on the Rams, and I bet the Rams -2.5. Not great, folks. But let's wrap this thing up, folks. We got one more game left. The Lions just came back and shocked the Texans in this one. Lions were down 23-7 at halftime. Texans go over in the second half. Lions outscore them 19-0. Get the win 26-23. So even with Jared Goff getting 5 interceptions in this game, Kaimi Fairbairn misses a million field goals. The Lions just keep the faith down the stretch. They get the win. They're 8-1. This is just what really good championship quality football teams do. They pull games straight out of their ass sometimes. When you can't dominate, especially if you commit 5 fucking turnovers and you still win the damn game, that's the sign of both a lucky football team, but a really solid, well-coached football team, especially if you're dominating the other games. The Lions are right up there. They're clear top 2 or 3 team in the league right now, right up there with the Chiefs and the Ravens, the Bills. You can put them in whatever order you want to right now. The Lions are very much in that conversation, and they're not outside of that top 3. I'll tell you that right now. Might not even be outside of that top 2, quite frankly. They're just a really, really good football team. This is a gutsy win. The Texans, now, it may be time, and I'm not coming in here like the Grim Reaper. At least I'm not trying to. Now, that being said, I can't help if there's a scythe slung over my shoulder. How much longer do we think that they stick with the offensive coordinator there with the Texans? How do I already forget his name? I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Texans offensive coordinator. I'm sorry. It's going to come to me here in a second, and I'm going to feel like a real fool. But yeah, how long do they stick with him? Okay, look, man. Texans OC. This is bad. Bobby Slowick. Holy shit. I cannot believe I forgot the name Bobby Slowick. Flog me, folks. Just absolutely flog me. I don't want this. I don't want this burden on me. But yeah, so how long did they stick with Bobby Slowick? Because it's not working right now. It's in year 2 with an elite young quarterback, good weapons. Really, one of the best running backs in the entire league right now. It's hard to say otherwise with Joe Mixon. You should be a whole hell of a lot better than you are right now on offense. They just stink. The offensive line's not playing well. The play calling is still having the same persistent issues. I get that the Texans are 6-4. I get things are going well right now in the win-loss column. But if you're serious about trying to win a championship this year, a time is going to come when Bobby Slowick is going to be asked to no longer perform the job that he is currently in right now. And I just don't know if they keep playing like this. I just don't know how long of a leash you give them. I'll tell you what, the next game for the Texans, who are they playing? Who are they playing this next week? So you're at the Cowboys this coming weekend. Monday night, actually, next week. It would behoove Bobby Slowick to score over 30 points in that game. and to win handily. It would behoove them. Really, winning is not his job. His job is the offense. He better hope they score a lot of points. He better hope they look impressive in a win, because they're probably not going to fire him next week if they do end up winning. But if you have another bad performance, the seed is planted in there for some changes down the line. Now, Bobby Slowick, make no mistake about it, he is calling games for his job right now. And I hope he realizes that, but hey, maybe it's better if he doesn't. But that is it for this past week. Right now, as I speak, the Dolphins are up 7-0. Looks like they, barring a solid play on third down here, are going to punt again. Doesn't matter. You already know how this game went. So, with that said, let's take a look ahead to next week. We'll just quickly run through some games here. So the Commanders are at the Eagles on Thursday night. Eagles are playing great football right now. I'm staying the hell away from them. Slight lean in the Commanders' direction. I mean, really not even much of a lean at all. It's kind of a toss-up in this one. Eagles' home field advantage is tough, so I guess if there is a lean, it would be the 3 points with the Eagles, but I'm staying away from that. The Ravens are on the road with the Steelers, and I'm going to have to check back with you on this one. Steelers are a home dog at +3, +3.5 in some places right now. If you want to go look up the overall win-loss against the spread for Mike Tomlin at home when he is a home dog, pretty favorable. Pretty favorable trend over a very, very, very long period of time. So that's something that we're going to revisit. But for right now, we're abstaining. Heavy lean to the Steelers, though. I'm just going to put it to you that way. Vikings are a 6-point favorite on the road at the Texans. Lean Vikings, but they've been shaky as all hell, and they're facing off against a pretty good Titans defense, all things considered. Have not run the bad teams off the field over the last couple of weeks. So I lean the Vikings, but this team worries me right now. This team worries me, to say the least. Browns are on the road at the Saints. Saints are favored by 1. Just a yucky football game. I'm staying the hell away from it. No great lean in either division, neither direction. Jeez, easy for me to say. Jaguars are on the road at the Lions. Lions are favored by 13. The number's just too big. I'd still lean the Lions, but that number's just too big for me to consciously put money on. This ain't college football. The other team gets paid too. I'm staying away from it for right now. That being said, I do have to consider it, assuming that Mac Jones is the quarterback going forward, because he is so bad. He is so god-awful. We'll check back in on that one, I guess. I've intrigued myself. I've intrigued myself. It's a huge number, and I'm still probably going to lean against it, but maybe we'll check back in on that. The Packers are 6.5 point favorites. Kind of depends on where you go to that for your number. They are at the Bears. I would lean the Packers. It's a big number on the road in the division. I probably won't bet it, but the lean is on the Packers in this one. Over under 41.5. Oof. I'm not betting on it over where the Bears are playing. That's for damn sure. Raiders are at the Dolphins. Dolphins are favored by 7. I guess slight lean to the Dolphins in this one. Raiders have a front 7 that can get after you, though, or maybe just Max Crosby at this point with Christian Wilkins out. But Max Crosby can get after you, and there's not really a great solution for him. So, maybe the Raiders keep it close in that respect, but the Raiders stink. They're not a very good football team. So, no real lean in that. I don't really trust the Dolphins either in this one. Over-under's 45.5. I mean, kind of similar deal with the Bears. I'm not really betting over in a game where the Raiders are playing. So I don't really feel great about the under at that number, especially with the Dolphins. With the Dolphins, they could score a bunch of points and make that whole point moot. But yeah, I'm staying away from that on the over-under as well. Rams are 4.5 point favorites at the Patriots, and I think I'm going to move on this one. Yeah, Rams minus 4.5 on the road. Yeah, I like it. I'll lock it in later, but I like that number. So we're betting the Rams minus 4.5. Can lock that in right now. We'll add that versus the Patriots on the road. Over-under is 43.5. Just don't do yourself a favor. Don't bet on an over in a game where the Patriots are playing. Colts are at the Jets. Jets are favored by 3.5. I don't trust either of these teams, so I'm staying away from that. Guess maybe a slight lean on the over at 44.5. I don't necessarily believe in either of these defenses, but I don't believe in either quarterback either, so not betting on that one in all likelihood either. Falcons are on the road at the Broncos. Broncos are favored by 1.5. Ever so slight lean to the Broncos, but the Falcons are just just stay away from them. Just stay away. They're a confusing football team, and that scares me. Over under anywhere from a 43.5 to a 44.5. Just kind of shop around on that number at the moment. We'll see if that stabilizes here at some point in the week, but slightly into the over at 43.5. Falcons can score some points. Falcons defense can give up some points, and the Broncos, Bo Nix has looked pretty solid here over these last couple weeks. So maybe we'll revisit things on that over under. Might be a sneaky lean to the over in this game, but we'll come back to that. Lean to the Broncos, but the Falcons are a confusing football team, and that scares me. So I'm staying away from them on the spread on that one. 49ers are favored by 6.5. They're hosting the Seahawks this next week. Slightly into the 49ers based on how the last matchup went. I don't know, man. I don't know if I trust the 49ers right now, quite frankly. Over under at 49.5. Why not? Fun over. Lean the over in that one. Probably won't bet it, but fun over at 49.5. Looks like we've got a pretty interesting spread. I mean, actually, no. Over under looks pretty consistent. Chiefs at Bills, 45.5. Under. The under might actually be a play for me in this one. I feel pretty confident that both defenses can win this matchup, quite frankly. The under might be a play. We'll revisit that here in the coming days, but the under might be a play. No real lean on the spread. If you had to, put me in a corner, I would lean the Chiefs just because the Chiefs is the Chiefs, but just a good football game. May the best team win. I just hope this is a banger, quite frankly. I think it's going to be a low-scoring banger, but I expect it to be a banger. The lean is on the under. We'll revisit that there later in the week, but let's just hope for a banger in this game. Sunday Night Football, we have got the Bengals on the road at the Chargers. Chargers are favored by, looks like 1.5. You can get a 1 at some places, but there are places I don't really want to open an account. So 1.5 right now. You can get some solid juice on that, and we're adding that as well. Chargers minus 1.5. Again, these are just games that Jim Harbaugh wins, and the Bengals aren't a bad football team, but they're a flawed football team. And I think the Chargers are just going to win enough on defense to where their offense is just going to slowly grind that Bengals defense into dust. Give me the Chargers minus 1.5 on Sunday Night Football. And on Monday night, we have got the Texans, our 7.5 point favorites, 7 point favorites over at DraftKings, looks like. Woo, excuse me. I just don't trust the Texans right now. Like the intuitive lean is on the Texans. Ooh, excuse me. But I just don't trust them at the moment. So I'm staying away from that one. Over-unders 42 in most places. No real lean on that. So we'll leave that there. And that was the Monday night game. So that is it. So we added Chargers minus 1.5. And we also added, what was the other one? Rams minus 4.5. So I'll get those put in after this. But with that said, thank you so much for watching this episode. That's it. We're done here. That was it for week 10. We'll revisit Monday Night Football, and I'll remember to do that on Thursday. Outside of that, though, thank you so much for tuning in Unqualified Analysis. Words are hard today, folks. I apologize. Thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. We do this thing twice a week. NFL on Tuesdays, college football on Thursdays from now until the end of time, folks. And that is my promise to you. Outside of that, if you enjoyed, subscribe wherever you listen to this thing. You can get us on most platforms. go ahead, share it with a friend or 15 or 1,500, either way. Help me grow this damn thing a little bit. I appreciate y'all for doing that. Outside of that, if you want to, follow me on the socials, it's really just Twitter, X, the Everything app. It's all happening on X. You can follow me there at CalebVUA. Link is down in the description. Also, the email, unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. If you want to get in contact with me, surefire way to do it, though, is just slide in the DMs on Twitter. They're open. Just go ahead and hit me up on Twitter if you want to opine or write into the show or something. Hey, if you got a question, I'm fully willing to do a Q&A segment. I mean, user-generated content is fantastic. We love that. Haven't had any of it pretty much. So fully welcome that for user-generated content. So submit your questions if and you want to, and I'll read them on the show. How's about that? Until or if we get to a point where we get way too many listener questions, we'll start trimming them down. But until then, hey, every question you submit, and unless it's just awful, we'll read it on the show. How's about that? With that said, though, I'm losing my voice. Thank you so much for tuning into Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got no clue what I'm talking about. I forgot that I had to pull up a fun fact. I should make sure if there's nothing pressing on the notifications because I'm about to completely erase them at the moment. With that said, though, one thing that I learned this week, Willie Nelson just released an album at the age of 91. That is his 76th album that he has released in his career. 76th studio album that he has released in his long, illustrious career. That is, if you're doing the math at home, an average of one a year for the last 76 years. So there you go. Long, illustrious career for Willie Nelson. That stat blew my mind, so I just figured I would share it with all of you here. With that, though, I'm going to go edit this thing. Hopefully get it done by halftime. I will talk to y'all later. See ya on Thursday. A lot to talk about for college football. See you then. Bye-bye.